If you're thinking about moving to Idaho, let me warn you, it's not exactly what you think. I thought I had a pretty good idea of what Idaho is like before I moved here from California, but let me tell you, I was wrong. Some things were better than expected, like the people, the outdoor lifestyle, and the cost of living compared to where I came from, but there were also some big surprises that I honestly wish I had known about before I moved here. So in this video, I'm going to share what I wish I knew about moving to Idaho, the things that will help you make the best decision possible. Before we jump in, if you're thinking about making the move here to Idaho and you want real, no BS insights, make sure to hit the like button to help this video reach more people like yourself. Subscribe for weekly videos about life and real estate in Idaho, and turn on the bell notification so you don't miss an episode. And drop a comment below. Let me ask you this. What is your biggest question about moving to Idaho? I personally read and respond every single one, and I'd love to help you out. In fact, if you're actually thinking about making the move here to Idaho and you want to talk with someone about the best neighborhoods for yourself, the housing here, or just what it's like to live here, reach out to me via phone, text, or email, or book a call right on my calendar in the link below. Let's chat about whether Idaho is the right place for you and your family. Now, let's start with what I expected Idaho to be like before moving here, because honestly, my expectations were way off. I thought Boise was going to be a tiny town in the middle of nowhere. I pictured just farms and tractors and cows and not a whole lot to do. But when I got here, I was actually quite surprised about Boise, and it has a real city feel. It's got a downtown area with great restaurants, coffee shops, bars, and events, and it's way more developed than I could have imagined. I also assumed there'd be no traffic because, hey, it's Idaho, right? Well, not exactly. Traffic here isn't bad compared to places like LA or San Diego, but during rush hour on Eagle Road or I-84, you're definitely going to feel it. The more people move here, the more congested it's getting. So if you think you're moving to Idaho for zero traffic, just know it's not quite that simple. And finally, I expected Idaho to be dirt cheap compared to California. And yes, it's definitely more affordable, but prices here have definitely gone up over the past few years. Home prices in Boise and Eagle are nowhere where they were 5 or 10 years ago. If you're moving from a bigger city, what's the biggest thing you're worried about? Cost of living, traffic, or something else? Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. One of the biggest shocks for me, the weather. Coming from San Diego, I thought I understood what winter was. Okay, I figured it might get cold up here, and a little bit of snow, but wow, I was not ready for how unpredictable Idaho's weather really is. Some winters, it barely snows at all, like this past winter, and other winters, it dumps snow for weeks. And even if it's not snowing, it gets really cold, like below freezing cold. If you're not used to that, trust me, it's a bit of an adjustment. And if you're not comfortable driving in snow, you'll need to learn, because they don't salt the roads here as much as they do in other snowy states. Now in Ada County, they do salt, but not in Canyon County. Now, just something to keep in mind, springtime in Idaho is like a mood swing on steroids. One day it's sunny and 60 degrees, and the next day it's snowing again. We really just can't predict it. I also did not expect how hot Idaho summers get. People think, oh, it's not humid, it's fine. But let me tell you, 100 degrees is still hot even without humidity. But the good news, you've got some absolutely amazing snow-fed rivers here, lakes, and water parks to cool off in the summer. Floating the Boise River is honestly one of the best things that you can do when it gets hot. Now, if you're coming from a place with no real seasons like California, especially Southern California where I came from, or maybe Arizona, and you're wondering what it's like to adjust, just give me a shout. I'd love to talk to you about it a bit more. Click that link below in the description. We'll go over what you need to know before you make the move here to Idaho. Now, let's talk about the cost of living, because this is one of the biggest reasons people move to Idaho. They see that Idaho is more affordable than places like California or parts of Oregon and Washington, and they just assume that everything here is going to be cheap. While that's true that the housing costs are lower, there are still some unexpected expenses that I wish I had known about. Now, first, let's talk about property taxes. Yes, Idaho definitely has lower property taxes than a lot of other states, but it really depends on where you live. Now, a surprising thing about property taxes here is that you're probably going to save a lot of money. The typical tax rate here kind of ranges from about 0.5% up to 1%. So if you're purchasing, let's say, a $600,000 home, depending on where you end up, I would expect to pay somewhere between about $2,200 to $5,000. There is a homeowner's exemption of $125,000. It's going to help save you some money. So if you buy a $600,000 home, you're only going to get taxed on $475,000. So that brings down how much you're being taxed on. Now, next up is your utility bills. Now, this is going to save you some money, because if you're coming from California, you're probably expecting that utilities are going to be really expensive here, but honestly, they're really reasonable. Overall, on average, I pay about $100 to $250 per month for all my gas and electricity. Now, the next thing up is homeowners insurance. It's still a lot cheaper than California or Florida, where you have wildfires and hurricanes. But with all the growth here, some insurance companies are raising their rates. My rates just went up 50%. I'm still under $1,000 a year. Now, let's talk about the Idaho culture. This is something that people don't really fully expect when they get here. Idaho is a mix of small town values, strong independence, and a slower pace of life. And for the most part, people here are incredibly friendly and welcoming. But Idahoans also value their space and their privacy. So while people are polite, they're not always overly outgoing right away. It might take a little longer to build close friendships here, especially if you're moving from a big city where people are used to being potentially more social. Politics is definitely another thing that surprises a lot of people. If you think the entire state is super conservative, it's not entirely true. Boise itself is definitely a lot more progressive, especially in areas like the North End. But once you get outside of Boise, the suburbs and the rural areas, definitely more conservative for sure. Now, if you're coming from California, Oregon, or Washington, you'll definitely notice a big shift in how people think about things like government, personal responsibility, and even some things as simple as gun laws. Open carry is legal here, and it's not uncommon to see people carrying firearms in public. Now, if you're not used to that, it might be a little bit shocking at first. Now, one of the things I love most about Idaho is the slower pace of life. People here just aren't in as much of a rush. There's less stress, there's less chaos, and more time to enjoy the outdoors. And that is really one of the biggest reasons why so many people are moving up here to the Boise, Idaho area. But that slower pace also means that things can take a little bit longer to get done. Whether it's getting a contractor to come out to your house, getting your car serviced, or even just how long it takes for a new store to open. Things just don't move quite as fast as maybe you were expecting them to move as they do in bigger cities. Now, if you're thinking about making the move to Idaho, let me know in the comments what area or neighborhood you're thinking of moving to. Now, in this next session, I'm going to break down the biggest pros and cons of living in the Boise, Idaho area. And that includes some things that might make you second guess moving here. So stick around because you don't want to miss this part of the episode. Let's start with the pros because there are certainly a lot of reasons why people are moving here and loving life in Idaho. First, the outdoor lifestyle here is just absolutely incredible. Whether you love hiking, biking, fishing, skiing, or just getting out and exploring, there is really no shortage of things to do. You've got the Boise River, Lucky Peak Reservoir, Bogus Basin for skiing, and miles of trails in the foothills. If you're an outdoor person, this is an absolute paradise. Second, you definitely get more home for your money compared to places, especially like California and parts of Oregon and Washington. Even though prices have gone up, you're still getting a lot more space, bigger yards, and better neighborhoods for the same price. Plus, you don't have to deal with things like Mello-Roos that you often have to deal with in California, or insanely high property taxes like in California. Third, people respect personal freedom here in Idaho. Idaho is a state where people believe in smaller government, fewer regulations, and personal responsibility. If you like being left alone to live the life the way you want, then you're going to love it here. Fourth, Idaho is a very family-friendly state. If you have kids, the schools are great, crime is low, and you don't have the same big city problems that you see in places like Seattle, Portland, or LA. There's certainly a reason why so many families are moving here. Now let's talk about the cons, because even though I love living here, there are definitely a few challenges that come with moving to Idaho. And first up, as I've talked about, the winters can be tough, especially if you're not used to driving in snow. If you've never lived in a place with real winter weather, it's certainly an adjustment. And while Idaho does a good job of clearing the main roads, the side streets certainly can stay icy and snowy for quite a while because HOAs don't plow the roads typically. Now, if you're moving here, you'll definitely want a good set of all season or winter tires and be ready to take it slow when the roads are bad. You just really got to slow down and not rush through it. Second, traffic is getting worse. It's not LA or Seattle bad, but because so many people are moving here, the roads are starting to feel a bit more congested, especially during rush hour. And since there's no real public transportation system, driving is pretty much your only option. Third, while Idaho has more big city conveniences than it before, it still doesn't compare to major metro areas. Yes, we now have multiple Costco locations, a Trader Joe's, and even multiple In-N-Out Burger locations. You won't find major things like IKEA or major pro sports teams or high-end shopping districts. We do have the Village that has some great shopping and eating, as well as other locations. Now, that's something to keep in mind if you're used to big city with more amenities. Fourth, some people here aren't thrilled with the population growth. If you spend a lot of time on social media, you'll see some locals complaining about too many people moving in and changing the culture. Most people here are very friendly and welcoming, but you will run into some who just are not happy about the growth. It's just something that you need to be aware of. Now, here's the thing, that Idaho is just not for everyone. If you hate cold winters, don't like driving, or need a big city lifestyle with tons of entertainment, you might struggle a little bit here. But if you love the idea of more space, outdoor adventure, and a slower pace of life, it's really an amazing place to live. So if you're thinking about moving here, I'd love to help you out. Click the link in the description to schedule a free consultation with me right on my calendar, or you can reach out to me via phone, text, or email, and let's talk about whether Idaho is the right fit for you. And before you go, please go ahead and drop a comment below. What is the biggest thing that you're concerned about when it comes to moving to Idaho? I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. And if you found this video helpful, please make sure to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and turn on that bell notification so you never miss any of my future videos. And if you're looking to explore more about the Treasure Valley and you're looking for more videos about Boise, Idaho, then check out this video right here, and I'll see you on the next video.